Hey everyone, it's been a minute since I've done a video, but I wanted to bring you guys back in. I picked up a new pistol, and it's going to be the Tisas Nightstalker Doublestack. Grabbed this one recently and wanted to go over it, give you guys a bench review, and show you some of the things that I've done to it. You can already tell it's got a different trigger and grip screws, different hammer, and kind of just explain to you what my thoughts are on it and what my plans are for it. And just to kind of talk about that and the other one pretty much. So you guys know I have the single stack, and I have actually really enjoyed the single stack. I haven't done too much to this one. The internals got swapped, and I did do a couple other things, but just wanted to bring it back in, like I said, and go over that. I'll show you guys my Staccato C2 with the comp on it, and talk about what comes in the box with the Nightstalker, pros and cons. And so without getting too in depth, I picked up a double stack Nightstalker. I've been wanting one. I was kind of just actually back and forth with the single stack, thinking about getting a threaded barrel for it, because they do sell the threaded barrels for I think $150, which honestly is a great deal. You're not getting it fit, which is, you know, I would prefer to do something like that. But with these are pretty much put together. They're not, I would say they're not hand fit. And they're just a really good budget 2011 or double stack 1911. They're good budget 1911s as well. This one has really proved itself so far. I've got a couple thousand rounds in it after sending it back to the factory the first time, and it just keeps running. I run it really dirty. It's actually the first time I've cleaned it at around a little over 2,000 rounds. I cleaned it, and it was running fine. It would have kept going as long as you kept putting oil in it. So I'm very happy with this. I've made some minor changes, as you guys have seen in the other video. You know, the guide rod, the full length guide rod. I think I did some of the internals. I definitely swapped the trigger, and I changed the grips. The lock grips are like one of the best things you can do to the single stack. So very happy with this pistol, and I'll keep shooting it for quite a long time. The trigger on it's okay. It's like kind of just like a standard 1911 trigger. I cleaned it up a little bit with some, like I said, aftermarket parts, but very happy with it. Now, the double stack is pretty much this thing again, but you have the double stack. So very much like the Staccatos and all the other 2011 or double stack 1911s that are out there right now, except that this one's a lot less expensive. This one comes in, I think like the MSRP somewhere like the $869. Street price, you can pick them up for about $700 to $800, and that's a really good price for what you're getting. I mean, you're getting a threaded barrel, you're getting an optic cut, you have the double stack, and you have the support of a lot of aftermarket companies and aftermarket parts. So with this one, the exciting thing that I did here was I reached out to Infinity, who I've run their kits in my Staccatos for a long time, and I do own an Infinity pistol as well. Their trigger kits, to me, are the best drop-in kit you can buy. So I tested some parts for them, and they do, now that we've seen what fits and what works with this gun, they should be putting up a kit very soon. It's really nice. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. But just to keep going over this one, it's got everything you'd want in a 2011 at a really good price. Like I said, it's cheap, essentially, for this type of pistol. I've already swapped a bunch of stuff before shooting it. It shot really good. It did have a couple malfunctions. So it would stovepipe right here. So you'd have one like this when your empty casing's right there. The extractor's probably a little too tight, which is fine. I'll go ahead and tune that myself. It's not really terribly hard to do, and I'll probably do a little bit of it on this video while I take the gun down. But build-wise, the slide to frame fit is pretty darn tight. There's got a touch of movement, but I've seen that in a lot of other higher-end 2011s and other 2011s in general, or double stacks, whatever. You'll hear me interchange it. I'm not going to keep correcting myself. One notable thing I would like to show you guys, if you get into the, I don't know if it's just the Nightstalker or their double stacks in general, but if you're going to run a TLR or a Streamlight Light, you will need to use a different key. Found that out with them because I went to put this on, and excuse me, it didn't fit when I was running the 1913 key. So you will need to use a TSW 99 key for the TLR1 or TLR2s to fit. And they just sit a little bit forward, but honestly, when you look at it, it's pretty darn close to how it sits on my Staccato. But I believe what the issue is here is that where they have their rails cut, it puts the light just a touch too far back into the polymer frame, and it's hitting the battery door or the catch here, and it's not allowing the light to sit properly. The way these are cut, it's just the one cut, obviously, and it works just fine for the staccato. But the Tisas, when it's doing it, you're too far back, and it basically is getting hung up in there, and it will not let it seat properly onto the rail. So if you use that other key in it, you're totally fine. So it will work. So all the other lights, I don't think they've had a problem with any other light. Just this one has to sit a little forward and use a different key than what some people might be used to. And I am a Streamlight diehard fan. I use them on everything that I shoot. So move on to magazines next. So just so you guys know, the Tisas is running a standard 2011 magazine. I believe it's going to be made by Checkmate. I grabbed one of my Triarchs. It's the exact same. It's the exact same magazine. You can look at the base plates. It's the exact same thing. So they may say Tisas on them, but for all you guys out there trying to look for cheaper mags, Checkmate, Tisas, wherever you can find them, $50 is a deal. Can't really beat it unless Triarchs got them on sale. Triarchs had their mags before for like $30-40, which I used to buy a bunch of these. So I have plenty of mags, but yeah, interchange totally fine. So you can take your Triarch or Tisas mag and throw them in your staccato, and vice versa. The only thing that I found that doesn't work well is a Prodigy mag. The way their base plates are don't work well with these mag wells. So whatever, it's a Prodigy mag. Not really a big fan of it anyways. One other little thing I was going to point out, in the box, you get your little cleaning kit and all your normal stuff. Not going to really go over it too much, but you get one of your bushing wrenches. I'm not really a big fan of this bushing wrench, though. It's kind of not great, I'll be honest. But it's cheap, and you can buy a replacement really easy. So when you go to use it, it doesn't actually set down and allow the bushing to go into the wrench very well. It's too tight. But if you get yourself a cheap one from Wilson or somewhere else, I think I got this on Amazon. It's a Wilson one. It's got both ends. So for your oversized, like bigger bushings, I think like maybe 45 or other designs, or you got the one right here. This one works perfect. It gives it enough room where the bushing can set down into it, and you can actually turn your bushing. So there's that if you need one. I tend to move the bushing and all that a lot with just my hands, but sometimes the bushing might be a little tight, so you'll need the little wrench for it. So as far as parts, I always like to have full-length guide rods. I don't like the loose spring system that they run. So basically what Tisas does, and a lot of 1911 builders or makers, they have this setup that's in your gun. And so the spring is compressing, but it's kind of like moving around. And I don't really like that. I like having that full guide rod in there. So I took this out. I don't have really a use for it. And I went up to a 12-pound spring. I actually don't know the factory spring weight, but it felt kind of light. So I went a little bit heavier. I tend to like to do that on these, and it tends to work really well. So as far as the parts, the other parts I took out, the Tisas 1911s and 2011s tend to have very weak safeties. I like a very positive safety. So this one I swapped with Fusion Firearms safety plunger and spring, and then this one I did a Wilson, the bulletproof one. I will say the Wilson bulletproof one is a lot more positive and stiffer, which I like because there's no accidental on or off on the safeties. So that part I think was $6. Totally a great deal. As far as grip screws, I had an extra set of Infinity grip screws, so I swapped those myself as well. I like these a lot better. I think they look better. So I might actually go out and have this, the trigger and the screws refinished at some point with the guide rods, but I also kind of don't care. It shoots well, and it doesn't really look that bad. So as far as the Infinity kit that they're going to offer, you will get the ignition kit essentially. So you're going to get your leaf spring, your sear and disconnector, and your hammer and strut. These are the Tisas parts that I took out, but I just wanted you guys to see what the parts will be. These parts are okay. I mean, they're not MIM parts, which is cool, but it's it's thrown together. I mean, it's not, it works. The trigger is nothing to write home about on these pistols. People are going to go in the gun store, especially if you're used to like a staccato or something else, and be like, oh, this trigger's kind of gross. Well, it's an $800 gun. You're getting a deal. But it leaves you a lot of time, room, and money, essentially, to change it up and make changes to your gun or use something aftermarket. And this is exactly why I bought this pistol, because I wanted to play with different things and try different stuff on it. So I did swap it out. I had a spare Infinity trigger already on me, so I went ahead and threw that in there while I was working on it. The only thing I noticed that was different about this versus dropping one of this, like a staccato kit in, is the staccato kit was straight up drop in as far as the trigger, bow, and shoe. They floated right in. It's no problem, and it's like a nice tight fit. With the Tisas, the difference here was there's some molding in the grip right up in these channels. You'll see, you might actually see that I a little bit of a file mark there because I went a little bit past it. But down inside, when you're back about here on the inside of that channel, there's molding burrs, so to speak. So all you do is, if you get one of these triggers, you take a permanent marker and you just mark. You can do the sides too. I like to start with the top and the bottom. So with your little Sharpie, just do your top and bottom. And then when you put it in, you push it forward and back a few times until it makes like marks. You'll see through it. You see where it wears off the marker, and you can tell where it's rubbing. So once you go in there with a little file, you just file it out and smooth it out real nice, and then put it back in and see when it moves around freely. Once it moves around freely, you're good to go. Like I said, mine took maybe a few passes at the top and a few passes at the bottom with the file, and it was good to go. Side to side, there's just a little bit of movement, not a lot. Up and down, there's almost none. There's almost none at all. So I'll show you guys the trigger on this. These Infinity triggers are really nice. It drops it to about 2.5 pounds, maybe a touch less. So, I mean, I would say be careful with it. You know, do it if you know how to handle one of these guns. If you don't, I probably wouldn't do it right now. But you can see it breaks really clean. There's almost no take up. And I'll show you the staccato full kit. And then this is more like the factory trigger in one of these Tisas. It's more of like a rolling break. Like, you can just feel a lot more tension on this before you get to your, so to speak, wall. And this one's not bad, but it's not great. It's kind of mushy. So that's what I did to that one so far. I really do enjoy it. Like I said, I'm going to take it apart here in a minute. That's kind of just the benchtop overview of it. I think this is going to be a great pistol for somebody that wants to get into the platform, wants to learn and maybe tinker with it a bit. You can, without feeling bad that you scratched it up. Like, I already kind of scratched this one up just like pulling safeties out, but I don't care. Like, this is literally a pistol for me just to mess around with. You do have the OptiCut. You can run the Holosun 507 or 407Ks on this, or I believe the EPS or EPS carry, because they run on that same footprint. But back to it, if you're starting out on this platform, this is a really good place to start. You can start at staccato. That's, you know, where I pretty much started out, was staccato, and back when they were STI. And I've kind of just gone through the whole spectrum, you know, with Infinity, shooting some Atlas, and then coming back full circle and playing around with some of these lower cost pistols. I have the Prodigy that I had Joe Chambers work on, and now I have a couple of these Tisas that I've been messing with. And I really do like these Tisas. This is a better pistol out of the box than the Prodigy, personally. I would spend the money here and have a lot of extra money to spend on other things versus the Prodigy, where I think it's $1,300 or $1,400 for that pistol. I think that one's overcost, and mine personally wouldn't run out of the box. These run out of the box, which is great. The customer service at Tisas, I will say this pistol went back because it was having some ejection issues or feeding issues. So it went back. They got it back to me in, I think, like a week, and sent me like a spare mag and all that. It was super cool. It runs great now. They got it figured out. I will say the mags that came with the single stack, it wasn't too big of a fan of them. Like, this is a very different follower than I've seen before, and it's got like lumps in it. I don't know. It works, but not my favorite. But also, once again, this is not an expensive pistol. I believe this pistol was $600 something out the door, like street price. But I pretty much just run like a Nighthawk Custom or a Wilson Combat or a Chip McCormick mag in it, and it's fine. But yeah, this one's super cool. This gun's just a lot of fun. So I think, honestly, starting out, if you want to try the platform out itself, this is it. If you want to step up, then Staccato, and if you want to go to the top of the game, just go to Infinity. But those are very different price points. You know, you're looking at $800, you're looking at $2,600 to, you know, $4,000, depending on which Staccato you get. And then Infinity, you're looking anywhere from like $7,000 and up. So it's just really different, but you're going to get different levels like of craftsmanship with each pistol that you buy, depending on where you're going. So this is a really cool place to start, though, and I just wanted to show it to you guys. If you're interested in the Infinity trigger kit, they should be going up on the website, I would say soon. I know they're working on it. We literally just the other day confirmed that these parts are working in this pistol, and that there's not any issues right now. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, drop them below. But like I said, I'll probably just include some video here of just me going through the pistol a little bit and working on it, and then that's it. Hope you guys have a great weekend.